It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. We're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caliger, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing okay today. And, of course, that was a quote from my man Iron Mike Tyson. I would never say something like that. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why I am so adamant about, find out why I go to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. No. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. All right, today, we've been talking, in case you haven't noticed, there's a world heavyweight title fight on Saturday. And normally we do post-fight shows after the big fights. And unfortunately, we're not going to be doing one after this. Not that it's not a big fight, but just some other conflicting schedules. So we will do our official post-fight show on Monday. And we'll not only be talking about the Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz fight and the other fights on that card. We'll also be talking about the return of Sergey Kovalev and the big fight really on that card, which is Dimitri Bivol going up against Sullivan Barrera. So you don't want to miss Monday's show. As a matter of fact, we'll probably open up all the phone lines too to get your thoughts on it. But as we move forward today, coming up a little bit later, I got an update on Kell Brook. We got an update on the WBC welterweight tournament. I got some emails to read, including the ones that I didn't read yesterday. Got some quotes from Triple G and Canelo. Some comments from Abel Sanchez I wanted to talk about. But to kick off the show, we got more quotes and comments from both Deontay Wilder, who's pretty much of a shy guy. He doesn't really say much. But this guy's been talking so much smack. I mean, if it was literally dog poop coming out of his mouth, which a lot of it is, we'd all be wearing chest waders right now. But the truth of the matter is, Deontay Wilder's got some quotes, and Luis Ortiz has some quotes. I saw some preliminary photos of him, some real, photos as of yesterday. And I tell you what, Luis Ortiz looks like he's in great shape. I mean, better than I've ever seen him. The truth of the matter is, if Luis Ortiz really mentally and physically comes to the Barclays Center on Saturday night, ready to fight, ready to do half of what he even is saying he's going to do, Deontay Wilder's in some trouble, boys and girls. Joining me right now from St. Simon's Island is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And I got news for you. I know Deontay Wilder's your idol and everything, but the truth of the matter is Ortiz looks pretty damn good, Sal. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad he does. I mean, come on. We want to see fighters at their peak, and we want to see fighters give it their best, and we want to see fighters that come into shape, come in shape. And otherwise, it's not going to be the contest we want to see. Boy, that sounds funny. And you know what? I bet every fan in Britain and in Great Britain and every fan of Anthony Joshua has got to be pulling for Deontay Wilder. And because if this fight goes any differently, there's going to be some big showdowns that are not going to happen as easily as, well, it's not happening easily now anyway. So
I disagree. I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
Because even if Luis Ortiz wins the fight,
right?
Yes, a unification fight between Ortiz and Anthony Joshua would be the fight that Anthony Joshua wants, because Anthony Joshua wants to unify all the belts. However, like we've always been saying, Sal, and the words have come out of your very own mouth, Sal, that a loss does not mean the end of a boxing career. Therefore, Deontay Wilder, even if he loses,
right,
there'll still be an opportunity for him to get back up on his horse, fight another one of his typical bums, knock them out like he does, and get a shot against Anthony Joshua. It's still a money fight. After assuming, and you know what they say about assuming, but assuming that Anthony Joshua gets past Joseph Parker, and assuming he unifies the belt, meaning he beats whoever's got the WBC belt, there's still got to be guys he's got to fight, Sal, you know, and Deontay Wilder could become one of those guys even with a loss. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he would never get another, you know, I'm not saying if he loses to Ortiz, he doesn't have a shot against Joshua. I disagree with that statement.
No. And I didn't mean it like that. What I'm saying is the trains are getting ready to collide, if you will. I mean, this fight is going to be, if both fighters win their fights regarding, you know, what their next opponents are, they should be heading into a clash before the end of the year. That's all I'm saying. If it doesn't happen, if both of these fighters, both of these champions do not win their respective fights, there's going to be a little bit of a wrench thrown into the gears. That's all I'm saying. I would love to see this fight take place this year between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. And I would love to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua win their respective fights in order for that fight to take place. That's all.
You know, you don't want to hear something funny? I'm going to say it right now.
Mm-hmm.
If Deontay Wilder loses on Saturday night, I bet you he ends up fighting Anthony Joshua faster than if he wins the fight on Saturday. I mean, what do you think of that?
I think that's a very good, profound statement, and I can't discount it. It's almost like remember the movie The Raging Bull when Jake LaMotta was told to maybe do a little song and dance with Billy Fox to get a title shot. He goes, hey, you know, if you win, you win. If you lose, you win. So either way, you don't lose. You always win. You know.
Well, I mean, Deontay Wilder believes that he's the best. I mean, and like we've discussed, you know, that's not my hang-up with him, because every fighter needs to have that level of confidence. My hang-up to him is that he uses his own resume as an example of why he's the best, and that's the joke of it. But anyway, believe it or not, Sal, I have some quotes from Wilder and Ortiz, and there's one.
Really?
I know it's shocking, but
there's one. I want to hear this.
There's actually one that I can't agree with Deontay more. As a matter of fact, I'd even treat him to dinner because of this comment. But let me start off with the no, he didn't. But let me start off with and it's like reading War and Peace, because you know Deontay Wilder is not ever short on words. But here's some quotes, and this is specific about the Ortiz fight. He says, "I've prepared myself for this moment for a long time. I'm going to prove it to the world that I'm the best. That's why I gave this opportunity to Ortiz again. He says he's the real King Kong, but King Kong knows what happens when he comes." when he comes to New York. What is he referring to? That Luis Ortiz is going to climb the Empire State Building and try and fight some airplanes? I mean, you know what?
That's actually a good analogy.
I know. I kind of like that one myself. I did like that one too. He says, I don't need anything to motivate me. Luis Ortiz doesn't need to say anything to motivate me. Unless he speaks English. No. I have a killer instinct. No matter what people say they're going to do, I always do what I say. I speak it, I believe it, and I receive it. We thought that we were the murderers of the English language. Well, I mean, even he makes Slip Mahoney look like he was an English major. I mean, some of the wording and the way he uses words just doesn't make sense. But anyway, let's leave it at that. He said, like that line. I always do what I say. I speak it. I believe it, and I receive it. What does that mean?
Sure it wasn't misquoted. Listen, I'm going to say something. I could understand, what he's doing. He's talking. He's being bravado. He's showing it. And you know what? Whether it's to help him believe it or just let others, hey, this is what I do to sell tickets.
No, listen, you're right. And I believe it's the first part of your statement. I believe this is the way he needs to motivate himself.
He pumps himself up.
And as a matter of fact, he says that now. He says, my family is even more motivation than I need. This gives me more motivation than I'll ever need to beat any man who's willing to meet me in the ring. I mean what I say, I mean what I feel, and I'm ready for whoever. Anthony Joshua will barely even mention my name. Well, I'm here and I'm ready for him. I'm the best in the world. I've been saying it for years. Here's a test. This is the fight that the fans have been waiting for. I'm going to pass this test with flying colors. I don't have any worries about Ortiz at all. When I look at Ortiz, he doesn't look powerful. I know he has nice skills like all Cuban. He has nice skills. He has nice skills like all Cuban fighters. That's nothing to me. It's going to be up to him to prove me wrong. I don't want anybody to change their prediction about me versus Anthony Joshua after what they see on Saturday. I'm going to keep proving people wrong just like I've always done. I love proving people wrong. This is the fight game, and everybody knows that you need to have confidence to be in it. I've had to fight all my life because people said I wouldn't amount to anything. Here I am standing tall because of the confidence I have in myself and my abilities. I don't believe any man can beat me. When I think about Ortiz, I see threes. It's a magical number. I see a third-round knockout. I've done what I've said so far, and I haven't let anybody down. I will knock him out, and then I will unify the division. I'm on a mission. There will be one champion, one face, one name. That's Deontay Wilder. He says, I've been waiting to prove to myself for a long time and have been saying that I'm the best of this heavyweight division and the best of this era. America has had a badass who goes by the name of Deontay Wilder. I just haven't had the opportunity to prove it. First of all, I love that comment, and I have a really, really good one in a minute. But so far, Sal, of all the rhetoric, and that's what I call it because he keeps saying the same thing over and over and over for the last several months, I read into this that it's indeed what you were alluding to earlier. I think this is his way of motivating himself. Once again, you read between the lines, you're seeing him justifying his career as him showing and proving to everybody that he's already accomplished, and with the exception of being considered a belt holder, I just disagree that his resume does not indicate that he is, as good as he says he is. I also read between the lines that he's kind of taking Ortiz lightly. Now, whether that's because he knows something we don't, whether he really thinks that they waited long enough because Ortiz legitimately is not really 38 or 39 like they say. He's probably closer to 45. I don't know. But up to this point, I really think that this is Deontay's way of motivation. Now, before I get to this comment I really love, what's your thoughts on what you heard this time from Deontay?
I like what I've heard, and part of why you have me on this show is because of my experience as a professional fighter. I know we sometimes go through semantics and minutia, if you will. I use that word a little bit, of wanting to prove, wanting to show, and wanting to evolve into the fighter we know we are inside. It's just having the right opportunities and giving the opportunity. So I can understand every word that he is professing and he is saying right now. I really do. And I know in his heart of hearts, he truly believes in his heart of hearts that he is the greatest fighter out there in the heavyweight division today. And that can't be discounted. And it can't be disproven until he gets in the ring and dances with the right people. And I think he's on his way of fulfilling what he is proclaiming right now in his heart of hearts. I think he's going to, I don't want to say easily handle Ortiz, but I think he will stop Ortiz. And I think a showdown with Anthony Joshua is going to be the ultimate moment that we're going to see and we're going to long for and we're going to wait for, to see two great heavyweights clash, and with only one's going to be remaining. Yeah. I like it. I like what he says. Okay, I am a Deontay Wilder fan. I am an Anthony Joshua fan, and that's why I want to see two great fighters get in the ring. Do I think that Anthony Joshua has what it takes to beat a Deontay Wilder? Yes. Do I think Deontay Wilder has what it takes to possibly beat Anthony Joshua? Yes. It's just going to be that kind of fight, and I think they will both have no excuses after they finally meet and they get in the ring. But I do like both fighters, and I don't want it to be discounted on that level.
Well, my man Joel is in the chat room. I'm sorry, not Joel. Willie is in the chat room, and he's mentioning some rumors that have been floating around. Willie says there's rumor and photos are floating around the internet that Ortiz hurt his right hand. I heard it was his left. He is a southpaw. Either way,
sounds like a big butt's coming.
Yeah, So, but anyway, so let me. But before I take this break,
yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm not going to take a break. So for all the affiliates and stuff, we're going to pass by this break. But I know they get upset with me because they have to do more work. But the truth of the matter is, here's the quote that Deontay. People just don't. They misunderstand me, Sal, because the truth of the matter is, I don't hate Deontay Wilder.
You always said
I
you
know.
like him. You always say you think he's a fine gentleman.
Yeah, I know what you say. I don't know. I don't know if he's a fine gentleman, but I do like him. I just I feel bad for him. It's almost like I feel he's been really taken advantage of, and the guy that everybody thinks is helping him and helped boxing and everything is the biggest crook of all, and Al Heyman. Just talk to some of the other fighters that signed with him that has been sitting on the shelf for 2 years. But anyway, let me read this comment because you're going to love it too. I trust me. This is Deontay Wilder. He was asked, which he's been bombarded with questions concerning. He's been bombarded with questions about previous eras. As you recall, or maybe you don't, he said that he's the best ever in the heavyweight division. He said he would have thumped guys like Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. He says nobody would have stood a chance. He's the best ever. And both Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson had to, slap some sense into him through media. So the media has jumped all over this, and they're always bringing it up. And once again, they asked him about the comments that he made about previous eras. And this is what Deontay said recently, the other day. He said, "The only thing I'll say about past eras is that those guys were not afraid to fight each other. They fought each other. That is what made their eras so unique and great, and still is being talked about to this day because those guys fought each other. It doesn't matter whether it was 2 or 3 times. They would probably get in there a 4th time. They fought each other. Nowadays, in this era, everybody wants to keep their unbeaten record. Nobody wants to fight.
Wow.
Everybody's talking about making it a business. Yes, we all have family. Yes, we need money. Yes, we risk our lives. But that's the difference. Everybody wants to be a businessman all of a sudden. Nobody wants to lose. But what those people don't understand is that this is boxing. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win. But if you lose, it's not over. If you feel and believe that you can come back off of this, you could probably be even greater than before. You can't be a 3 or 4-time heavyweight champion if you don't lose. Nowadays, they are scared. I applaud Deontay Wilder for that comment, Sal, because it's 100% true.
100%
I mean, I can't say one
you could have
disagreeing. I know. I wonder if I did write it. You know, I mean, the truth of the matter is that what he said, and if it was truly from his mouth or somebody telling him to say, I can't not respect that. And for that reason, I hope that should he get a bump in the road this weekend and come up on the losing end, that he remembers what he said, and that the truth of the matter is a loss does not change a fighter's career. It can, and a lot of times does, make them better. And I just said, ironically enough earlier, that if he should lose the fight, I bet you he gets a chance with Anthony Joshua quicker. What's your thoughts on that comment and the ramifications from that comment?
I agree with his comment 100%. I think he said that from the heart, and I think he really does believe that. And that's exactly, maybe somebody pulled him aside and said, hey, you when you made an earlier statement about being the greatest in any division, any era, I think somebody might have helped him understand, what the difference really truly was in different generations of champions. But needless to say, he definitely comes out with every word that I align myself and correctly say that I agree with him 100%. And I commend him. I commend him for that statement. I commend him if he believes 100% in that statement. And like I said, I don't have to hide. I'm a Deontay Wilder fan. I'm an Anthony Joshua fan. I think they both bring a certain element to the heavyweight division, and I think they're on a collision course. And it's inevitable. I just hope it happens sooner than later. But I like what he said. It's a great statement.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's I love it. I love the statement.
It's fantastic.
And it's hard
like
not.
I said, I don't think you could have written it for him any better.
And to tell you the truth, it's hard not to root for him. It's just but when he gets back to himself, then that's when I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why I want.
I think Billy, and like you said in the past that you like him. He's a good guy from what you can see on the outside. But I think what you have a hard time with is just when he uses his resume as it stands to promote and say this is him beating everybody out there.
My thing with all fighters, not just Deontay.
No, not just Deontay. With all fighters. You're 100% right. Keith Thurman, all of them.
Keith Thurman, Keith Thurman's a different Keith Thurman's a different situation because Keith Thurman was doing everything they're supposed to do, and then all of a sudden he stopped. Same thing with Canelo. You can't dispute the resumes of Keith Thurman and Canelo Alvarez, but you can clearly see all of a sudden when their mindset changed. And they didn't want to take any risk, and they wanted to milk things as long as they could, et cetera, et cetera. They both, all of a sudden, punch up and look at the frequency in which both those fighters that we're talking about right now, Keith Thurman and Canelo Alvarez, look at the frequency in which they fought, and then all of a sudden
they were hungry.
But then look at the more recent times,
I know.
And Abel Sanchez said yesterday that Canelo Alvarez is a disgrace to the Mexicans, being Mexican himself. He said that all he promises and misleads and lies, call him a liar, lies to the public, saying that he's going to knock out Triple G, et cetera, et cetera. He says all he did in the first fight was run. Is he going to run in the second fight? Well, which makes the point. But anyway, this is about Ortiz and Wilder right now. Luis Ortiz, he didn't have as many long-winded things to say, but he did have this to say. He said, I'm psyched and I'm ready for Saturday. I have no worries at all about being the underdog. I will knock Deontay Wilder out. I'm anxious. I'm ready to get in the ring. It's been a long wait, but it's almost time to fight, and I just can't wait anymore. I'm here for my world title. I'm here to win the heavyweight championship of the world. Winning the belt is the only thing on my mind. It's going to be big for me to get this win on Saturday for myself and for Cuban boxing. This is what makes me happy and gives me thrills. It'll all be worth it on Saturday night. I am the champ. Saturday night, I will show everyone why. The wording, I'm always looking at the wording of
I know
quotes.
You
are. And the wording of this is, remember we were talking about when fighters step in the ring and they're like, well, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna give it my all. I had a great training camp. I'm here to give it a shot. That's not confidence. And then you have the other side of the coin, where you have a guy like Deontay Wilder talking about how great he is for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then you have a comment like this, where you read between the lines, and this guy, it seems mentally, he's not accepting anything less than winning. That this is his time. There's no what if I lose. What if he drops me? What if there's no. He's not. That's not in his mind. It reminds me of two looks that will forever be etched in my mind when two different opponents with two different results were entering the ring with my man Mike Tyson. The first was Michael Spinks. The look on his face when he was walking to the ring had the look of, oh my God, I'm about to get killed. There's no way I'm going to win. The look on his face, he was scared to death. They practically had to drag him into the ring. And ultimately, he was knocked out in, whatever it was, 30 seconds, a minute and a half, whatever. Then the other look that is etched in my mind is the look of Evander Holyfield when he was walking to the ring to fight Mike Tyson. And no one was giving Evander Holyfield a chance to win, including myself. And Evander Holyfield, I remember watching him and that long walk to the ring, and I'm looking at this guy's face, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, this guy has this look of confidence on his face that it seems that he knew something that no one else did. And I turned and said it to the people I was watching the fight with. I said, man, he looks like he's got this confidence. I'm nervous about this fight. And ultimately, he won the fight. Well, yes, that's the feeling I get from Luis Ortiz, Sal, that he's got this, as a matter of fact, type of confidence. And Ortiz does not have to convince himself. He already just can't wait to prove himself. With Deontay Wilder, he says he's going to prove himself. But to me, he's trying to convince himself. What's your thoughts?
I'd say that's a good assessment. And if it's a true depiction, I don't know. But I could see how you could arrive at that. And if both of these fighters do not believe they're going to beat the other, they should not be getting in the ring. So you have to go with Luis Ortiz in his statements and feeling he's going to prove to the world that he is going to win this fight and beat Deontay Wilder. But you also have to listen to words of Deontay Wilder that, this is part of his destiny, where he wants to be, where he feels he's going to be, and what he has to prove to the doubting fans of the heavyweight division. So I think he has something to prove. I believe both fighters in their heart of hearts feel they're going to win Saturday night. And fortunately, unless it's a draw, we're going to see one fighter come out the winner. And I'm going to choose Deontay Wilder. That's all.
Well, also,
so I like both statements. Hey, they're both saying what they got to say. That's it.
Well, I hope that this hand injury, alleged hand injury, we're hearing both sides of it. One hand, it's right hand, it's left hand, whatever. I'm just glad that, well, let me rephrase it. I just hope
it could be rhetoric too.
Well,
it could be just a false thing.
Right. I just hope it doesn't come into play. I hope if Deontay knocks out Ortiz doesn't say, well, if the truth is, I don't want to make an excuse, but I hurt my hand. I don't want to hear that. Ortiz, especially with the situation that he's overcome in terms of the PED results, whether you believe him or not, I think this is his only chance. In this case, this guy's a one and done. If he doesn't win this fight, we probably won't see Luis Ortiz again. This would clearly be a cash-out fight, in my opinion. But if he wins this fight, you're going to see him fight Anthony Joshua. You're going to see the best thing for this sport, to be honest with you, Sal, the best thing for this sport is for Ortiz to win this fight. I got news for you. It really is, and I'll tell you why. It creates so many other lucrative matches. It creates the comeback trail for Deontay Wilder. Luis Ortiz is not going to get a comeback trail. He just won't get it. Deontay will. All right? So Luis Ortiz, he wins this fight. He gets a shot at Anthony Joshua, assuming Anthony Joshua gets by Joseph Parker. We can't dismiss Joseph Parker. We could be
seeing Parker and Luis.
You got it. Because let me tell you something. Joseph Parker, you're talking about confidence level. Joseph Parker seems more confident than anybody that I've seen. But anyway, assuming that Anthony Joshua remains the man and Ortiz wins, of course you're going to see that unification fight. But maybe Deontay against Joseph Parker. Maybe Deontay against somebody else. I mean, there's other. Remember, I always say there's always the next biggest fight. So the best thing that could happen would be for Ortiz to win. The best thing for boxing, not for Deontay, but the best thing for boxing would be for Luis Ortiz to win. And nothing for nothing, it's not going to be a terrible thing for Deontay. He'll be able to still make a lot of money, But anyway, one last thing I wanted to mention before I do have to take this break is remember the super middleweight fight between Jose Uzcategui guy or whatever. Let's just call him Jose U because I can't pronounce his last name. And he fought Andre Durrell for the IBF's version of the title or interim version or whatever. And in my opinion, incorrectly, Jose U was disqualified for punching after the bell, even though I thought that he was already in motion, but that's besides the point. But what made this fight even more disruptive was that after the fight, when both fighters were in their respective corners, Durrell's uncle, and by the way, the Durrell brothers bring an element to live fights that, you heard Larry Hazard say it, you heard many other people say it's just a negative impact on the sport. With their full entourage, not only the people that are working the corner, but other friends, family, whatever that travel with the Durrell brothers, and there's always an issue. But Durrell's uncle and cornerman at the time, Leon Lawson, walks up to Jose Uzcategui, Jose U, and he's like talking to him like they're just talking, and Jose's got his gloves down, and he sucker punches him in the face. Now, supplementally, he was arrested. He is still, battling the assault charge and also a civil suit from Jose U. But Jose U, and I'm not going to say anything I'm not going to comment or give Durrell any platform. So, I could care less. I hope he gets totally beaten to a pulp on Saturday night. But Jose U says, and I quote, "Neither the bell, nor the referee, nor the judges, nor his cowardly uncle will save Durrell this time. I will do justice with my own fists in the ring. I've come twice as physically and mentally prepared as the last time. Nothing will stop me from succeeding again against Andre Durrell. On Saturday night, I will fulfill my dream of becoming a world champion. I don't know if there's anybody that can root against this guy or should. What do you think?
No, I think it's a hell of a quote, bravado, and full of good words that we're going to anticipate seeing what happens. I think it's good. I like to hear when fighters talk like that.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's deserving. A lot of times,
it is.
You know, a lot of times they shouldn't, but in any event. All right, let's take a short break, Sal. When we come back, I got some other news. I'm going to read some emails, and then we're going to get visited by my man Alex Perpali as he gives us his thoughts on the fight scheduled for this weekend. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
We save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology used to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Don't forget, Monday, we're going to be doing our post-fight show. And during our regular show, we'll be talking exclusively about the fights from Saturday, and there's a lot of them. So you're not going to want to miss Monday morning show. And if you're able to watch it live, we most likely will be opening up the phone lines. Speaking of phone lines, we'll have Alex Papali join us here in about half hour. But I'm back here with my man Sal. And Sal, before I get into some emails, I wanted to give you an update on that WBC welterweight tournament. They announced all the fighters and what the matchups were. Now, the way they did this, the first event is taking place April 27th. And the way they did it was they actually asked boxing fans to rank the fighters, and then they formulated the first-round matchups. So the number one seed, which is Felix Diaz, he's got a record of 19-2 with 9 knockouts out of Dominican Republic, is taking on the number 8 seed, who's undefeated Derek Cuvas out of Puerto Rico. The number 2 seed, which is Chris Van Herden, he's 25-2 with a draw out of South Africa, faces the number 7 seed, Timo Schwarzkopf of Germany. He's got a record of 18-1 with 10 knockouts. Number 3 seed, Frederick Lawson of the United States, 26-1 with 21 knockouts, is taking on Heshibano Naiziwula out of China, who's 13-1-1. The number 4 seed is taking on Radshib Butav out of Russia. He's 8-0 with 6 knockouts. He's taking on the 5th seed, who's Brad Solomon, a good fighter out of Georgia, 27-1. There was also 2 alternates chosen. Francisco Santana, he's 26-6 with a draw of California, and Paddy Gallagher, who's 13-3 of Northern Ireland. These guys are the alternates. Here's, I mean, all these fights sound good, and I'm looking forward to this tournament because I love all the tournament type fights. But here's the concerning part once again, and this isn't. You could be critical of me in the last one or the one before that one. I said, the U.S. fighters, blah, blah, blah. So there's a total of 8 fighters and then 2 alternates. So, don't take your socks and shoes off. I'll total it for you. It's 10 fighters, all right? Eligible. There's 10 fighters in this tournament that's eligible to win this tournament. 30%, and again, you don't have to break out a calculator, 3 of the 10 fighters are from the United States. I would have liked to have seen half of the fighters, but to me, Sal, it proves that the U.S. fighters, they don't want to take these risks, and this is a huge opportunity. These aren't fighters like the World Boxing Super Series where they already have world titles. These are guys that are trying to position themselves for a world title, and I'm appalled, especially in a division that is loaded with American fighters, that we only were able to get 3, and that's one of them is an alternate. 3 fighters of the 10 from the U.S. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's like you and I have said. I mean, a lot of the U.S. fighters, their promoters and managers, if they have an ounce of talent, they want to put them on a zero-loss path of trying to maneuver and leverage them into a situation for either a big payday or a title shot. And then they're exposed or they've risen to the occasion when they finally get that opportunity. Now, this kind of a tournament is also a great fast track for those that aren't afraid to put it on the line and draw the straws and see who they're going to fight, and it could be anybody, anywhere, and anytime. So I commend them, and it's like I always refer back to. I remember when ESPN did years ago in the 80s their tournament that was an ESPN championship tournament, and those that won the fights or those that were in the fights, and that was probably 80% all domestic fighters. They all had a fast track after they were the ESPN champion to get a title shot. So I think it's a great idea. I love a tournament situation as long as the tournament is within a decent frame of time. And I commend these guys that are throwing their hat in the ring, and I hope they get it brings them the notoriety and the wherewithal to get them leverage after the fact of the tournament when it's over. It's a good thing. It's a good thing, and I think having 30%, 40% is better than nothing. But like I said, most of the U.S. fighters, they want their own little pathway. They don't want to be throwing themselves at the mercy of a win-loss in a tournament.
Well, I mean, my thinking here, as far as the U.S. or lack of, I think it's pretty obvious that it's like what Deontay Wilder said earlier in the show. They all think they're businessmen, and they're all following a blueprint that was 100% successful for Floyd Mayweather. Where he cherry-picked the weaker opposition. Yes, they had pedigree and stuff, but all the timing. And at the end of the day, made boatloads of money and, walked away undefeated. And, everybody wants to – listen, human nature is to copy success. And, that's what's taking place here. And it's just so obvious that the mindset from the U.S. fighters, and these aren't – remember something, Sal. Somebody along the line is advising these kids when they start fighting. Because the first reason you fight isn't – you're not thinking of anything other than to prove you're the best. Remember, when a kid first walks into a gym and wants to become a fighter or at least experiment with it, it's not for any other reason other than he wants to be a badass. I'm sorry, that's the truth.
No.
Now maybe they evolve into thinking other things, like it's a science, it's this, it's that, and all the other positives about the sport. But the initial reason is they want to fight. How many times does the kid walk into a gym and the first thing they ask a trainer is, when do I get to spar? And a good trainer will be, you're not going to be sparring until I can see you hit the heavy bag right or hit the speed bag, or you got to get conditioned. But the first thing a kid wants to do is get in the ring and spar. Am I wrong about that, Sal?
No, that's the first thing we want to do. I remember being a little kid, and that's the first thing I wanted to do. And the trainer said, no, we got to see what you could do and make sure you have a little understanding of the sport of boxing. Other than that, before that, I was just 8, 9 years old, taking a kite string, roping off the apple trees in my backyard, and getting the neighborhood kids in there with these big balloon gloves, and that's how we boxed. So to be in an organized boxing and fighting, before you get in the ring with anybody, even sparring, it was good to get a little foundation and understanding about the real mechanics of boxing.
When I was in a junior Golden Gloves league in Long Island, and then we had moved upstate, and I was still a kid, and we had this barn. It was this barn, and I'm in there, and we made a little ring up there, and I'd want to box anybody, and unfortunately for my younger brother, he was usually my opponent. But I used to let him hit me, and I would try to avoid him, and I made him a better person. But anyway, let's get to some emails. Now, normally, I just want to start off with this. Normally, I don't really get into commenting from other vehicles. All right. Now, what I say that is, if you take the time to drop me an email, I'll take the time to read it on this show. But there's so many other comments that I see and read sometimes, and I want to comment on it, and sometimes I do, and other times I don't. We wouldn't have enough time. So we urge anybody that's watching or listening to the show, if you do want your thoughts, opinions, questions, whatever heard, it's really easy. All you got to do is drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. However, yesterday I was looking at some YouTube comments, and I was getting, responding back and forth, and had a decent conversation with a couple of different viewers and listeners. But this one guy made a comment, and along the lines of him saying, over in England, they promote their young fighters a lot better. Specifically, we were talking about heavyweights. they promote them a lot better. Everybody knows about Anthony Joshua, blah, blah, blah. And here in the States, we don't. And he gave me two names, Darmani Rock and Marlo Moore, two extremely successful amateurs that fought the Olympic trials, et cetera, and are pros now. Darmani Rock is a 21-year-old heavyweight. He's 6'5", and he's weighed since he's turned pro in 2016. He's weighed between 246.5 and 252.5. His lightest weights came at 241, 244, something like that. But he's 10-0 with 6 knockouts. A well-accomplished amateur. And by looking at, the fights that he fought, he's following that same type of mold, although a couple of the fighters look decent. His last two were actually the best two fighters on paper that he had fought. But the circuit in which he's fighting gives you an indication of the path. And this is the difference between the fighters from Europe and the fighters here in the States. My man was right. We don't promote them because our promoters aren't as good as the foreign promoters are, at least today. And what their goal is to build up a fighter, to get to that magic number, 20-0, and then all of a sudden they're magically a mandatory. They get their shot, and then they lose because they never had a chance to get better, like we've been talking about for 15 years, saying that the right way to build up a fighter is to progressively increase his level of opposition so they get a chance to get better. But the business end has taken priority, just like Deontay said. And we end up with these talented fighters that never get a chance to get better than when they turn pro. Darmani Rock is a great example. He's 10-0 with 6 knockouts. I had never heard of him. And I don't follow the amateurs as much as I should, so that's probably why. Now, the other guy, Marlo Moore.
These are 10 amateur fights?
No, he's 10 pro fights already.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, he turned pro in 2016.
Wow.
He fought last year in 2017. He fought 4 times, and nobody's ever heard of him. Well, I mean, if you're an amateur, if you follow the amateurs, you heard of him. But, I mean, he's big enough. This guy could be – he's from Philly. I mean, this is a promotable guy.
He's marketable.
This is a guy that should be marketed, exactly, and that was the viewer's point. The other guy he mentioned, Marlo Moore, he's a little older, 27 years old. He's smaller. He weighs right now at about 225. He's a pro debut. He won a third-round stoppage over a 3-6 guy, Oswaldo Ortega, who was small himself, 216 pounds. Now, this particular fighter was also well-decorated in the amateurs, but, and I don't know. I've never seen him fight, so I don't know. But just by looking at the statistics, size-wise, he's not going to fare well with today's version of the heavyweights, although Darmani Rock, he looks like he's the real deal. So I agree with this guy, and I wanted to bring it up. The truth of the matter is that our promoters here in the States do not promote fighters, even glory divisions like the heavyweight division, and that's a shame, Sal.
It's a shame, and like I said, I just love the way that fighters were groomed, and the grassroots promotions were what it started and how it evolved. Like I said, and I'll go to the playbook and I use it and I refer back to it. I'm sorry if it's redundant for everybody, but the Lou Duva handbook of promoting fighters was spectacular. He did the grassroots. He did the local shows. He made the local fighters who were very good and talented stars. I mean, and guess what? The breeding ground, the proving ground, like a Blue Horizon North, was the Ice World of Totowa. And Ice World of Totowa, you had the Rocky Lockridge, you had Bobby Ches, you had Scott Frank, who fought Larry Holmes for the heavyweight championship. You had a couple of the Olympians there. Vinny Pazienza fought there on our shows, and these were all great fighters who started where I did, and they evolved. And Lou Duva promoted them, and from a grassroots approach, and and it was great. And you don't see that today. It's gone.
Well, the problem is that you have to contribute laziness in there, Sal, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying. Now, granted, you see, back in those days, fight posters, word of mouth, that was how you got the word out that you're having a show at the Civic Center, at the Armory, whatever. And, people bought tickets. Now, the laziness of the promoters, hey, we got social media, put it up on Facebook, and then boxing's dead, And really, boxing is the type of sport that you can't just get away with social media. You have to do the old-time hitting the streets type. But the point here is that a promoter's job isn't just to put on a show and collect the money. And believe me, when I became a promoter, that was the first thing I thought. Oh, wait, Don King's a promoter. All you have to do. No, and I learned the hard way. But I was a promoter, a grassroots type promoter.
Right.
And what you're seeing today is a fast track to the payday. And, what these promoters do now is just like in this Damarni Rock situation, he's fighting in Virginia and the Carolinas and all these small little events that nobody ever sees or hears about or gets video of, but they're quietly amassing that record, that undefeated record. Then all of a sudden, poof, they appear on an HBO or a Showtime or a ESPN card. And, they fight some slug, they knock him out, and everybody's like, oh, this is the next guy. This is just like Deontay Wilder, And then they try to move it that way. They maneuver instead of move. And it's hurting the sport, and really it hurts the fighters because they don't get a chance to get better. But listen, let me read some emails because we're backed up, and we got Alex coming on here in several minutes. So this one was leftover. I told you I had 3 leftover from yesterday. This one's from my man Jeff from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which incidentally, the Billy Joel song called Allentown was actually about Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. But anyway, he says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, I'm excited to be attending the Madison Square Garden show on March 3rd. It was a birthday gift from my son. He says, I know Wilder's fighting in Brooklyn on the same night, but I'm banking on an exciting evening with Kovalev and especially Bivol and Alexander. I'm interested to see if Kovalev can find his way back and if he allows his new trainer a voice in the corner. I was disappointed in his fight with Ward. Ward really took his heart. I believe Ward is really that good. I watched him discourage Kessler, tame Froch, and beat up Kovalev. When he's cornered, he's one bad fighter. And he puts in parentheses because we're always making fun of that. Bad meaning good. He says that really can do whatever it takes to win. I'm still unsure if the ref would have allowed Kovalev to land so many borderline shots on Ward, but hey, in my opinion, it was time for Kovalev to get down and dirty, and he wasn't up to the task. Ward outmauled him. It's funny, but Kessler and Froch both came back strong, yet neither had a stomach to take on Ward again. I doubt Kovalev will ever call for him again either. I think this is a real step up for Bivol. Well, let me comment on that. Ward is just a boring fighter. Nobody ever said, including myself, that he didn't have the talent. He clearly has the talent. My hang-up with Andre Ward was that he wasn't exciting, although he did fight exciting in the Kovalev fight, the second one. But the problem with Ward was that he didn't fight enough. And, he thought who he was. He thought he's this big, huge superstar and demanded the Mayweather and Canelo and Pacquiao and Cotto type purses, and he just didn't have the drawing power. I mean, he can't even draw in his own home state. He was a victim of not being promoted correctly. And oh, by the way, he was a gold medal winner. I believe he's our last U.S. gold medal winner, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. So I mean, this is a guy that clearly had the pedigree, but signed with the wrong team, and they did not promote him well. I'm not saying that he didn't have the talent, because he did, right, but he definitely suffered due to lack of promotion. And when he finally won his case and separated himself from his promotional team, he was already, whatever. He fought a couple of fights under Kovalev, and that was it, against Kovalev. Anyway, he says, I think this is a real step up for Bivol. It's the most interesting fight of the night in my eyes, and I agree with my man Jeffrey. He says, I might suggest that this is a step too high, but when I watch Bivol, he does not seem to be a strictly power puncher. His victories have definitely come from power, but he looks to control the ring and has so far shown a Triple G-like ability to cut off the ring. This fight, I believe, will provide a good gauge on 2 questions. 1, how good is his chin? Because he is going to get hit in this one. And 2, how good is his stamina? He says, I don't believe he lacks stamina, but I'm excited to see it. Lastly, I'm interested in watching Alexander progress and witness his skill set up close. He's no kid, so he'll have to progress quickly. P.S. I don't think Ortiz will lay down for Wilder. This is the test Wilder has needed. Hope you guys enjoyed your time off. It's great to have you back. Thanks for the email. Alexander... they are going to move him up quickly because of his lack of time in the ring and maybe his time off, like we used to call it, off in school. But we'll see about that. I agree with Jeffrey, Sal, that this Bivol against Sullivan Barrera is the biggest test for Bivol, and I'm looking forward to it. And just keep in mind, the only guy that really manhandled Sullivan Barrera was Andre Ward. What was your thoughts on this email?
I think it was a very good email, and I understood it and thought that he was pretty much right on. Very good email.
Yeah, he made some interesting points about Kovalev.
Made some interesting points about Kovalev, yes.
Kovalev is an intriguing fighter. His persona was viciousness. I crush you. I am called the Crusher. I am Sergey Crusher Kovalev. And then he fights Andre Ward. And he was hitting me below the belt. He's looking at the referee for help. You can't do it. Hey, listen.
No.
It's not part of the rules, Sal. But somebody hits you south of the border. What do you do?
you hit him back.
I know. You hit him back whereabouts?
Whereabouts, a little bit south of the border.
Exactly.
Might get even.
Exactly. And
to teach him a lesson and keep him off.
Well,
and you know what? You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, it's illegal. Yeah, you run the risk of
you'll probably lose a point.
I was just going to say, the words were just coming out of my mouth. Like I say, you would run the risk of losing the point yourself, right? But is it worth losing a point and getting your message across to your opponent? Don't do that, because if you do that, I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's the case. Same thing. Kovalev, you should never listen. The late great Sam Langford once said, "I bring my own judges with me." And people looked at him like he says, and he holds up his left and his right. He goes, "I don't like it to go in the judges' hands. I keep them in my own." And although, he said that 100 years ago, the truth of the matter is, it's true, Sal. If these fighters don't want to complain, I don't want to make an excuse, but, they don't want to complain about whatever. They don't want to complain about the judge that scored it the wrong way. They don't want to complain about that if they don't want to complain about the referee not letting them fight the fight or whatever. It's a simple solution. Go in and knock the guy out. Don't put it in the referee or judge's hands. Am I right?
Well, you're 100% right. And that's why you and I lost so much respect for Kovalev when he faced Andre Ward, because he was talking a lot of smack. And he went in that ring, and Andre Ward just totally dismantled him and bullied him in a kind of frame, in a kind of way that I would have thought that Kovalev was going to go in that ring and do the same. That's what he needed to be a badass, to bully Andre Ward and everything else. But we didn't see it. And once he got shot, he got hit in the belly. Boy, that was it. He was looking for the referee. Hey, I didn't see anything saying, "Hey, let me continue. Let me catch my wind." He was looking for the place to be counted out.
You're right. And the other part about that is, remember, Andre Ward was not a knockout artist. He wasn't, although I predicted a knockout over Dawson. And I remember when I met Andre Ward, I was in Vegas, and he was heading up to an interview on ESPN. And I was coming down the same way, and we passed each other, and I stopped him and introduced myself and was talking with him. I said, hey, by the way, I was the only one that predicted a knockout. And he was like, you know, hey, that's cool, whatever. But he predicted that he was going to knock out Kovalev. I laughed at that prediction. I thought that he was, you know, maybe hanging out with Deontay, smoking some weed or something. You know, the truth of the matter is that I said, okay, you know, maybe you're going to win, but I don't know if you're going to knock Kovalev out. And what does he do, Sal?
What does he do?
He knocks him out. He knocked him out. You know, I mean, the fight was stopped. He knocked him out. He did what he had to do, you know. But
did what he had to do, and I'll tell you what. And that's what, you know, Kovalev even suggested that's what he was going to do to a lot of fighters. And that's what he was going to do to Andre Ward, but he didn't do it.
Nah, you know, and that's my thing with Deontay Wilder. You know, when you talk smack and you don't back it up, you become David Haye. David Haye talked smack for years and years with the Klitschko situation. When he got his chance, didn't back it up. And I will never, ever, ever respect David Haye because of it. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Alex Papali is going to be joining us, and we'll get his thoughts on the fights for this weekend. Then I got some more emails. I got some news. Busy, busy, busy. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining Sal and myself right now, is a guy you usually see on Wednesdays doing the Blast from the Past, the one, the only, Alex Papali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. He's up early on a Thursday. How crazy.
It's nuts. If he wasn't packed, ready to go to Chicago, he wouldn't probably be
He's
up.
packed and ready to go. He's going out there.
Oh, yeah.
You remember last time we were out there, Bill?
Oh, yeah, but he gets to go hang out with his brother, and I'd be eating. See, you would like hanging out with me, Alex, and his brother. There's no question about that.
I would. We're all three Italians. They'll call us three amigos.
There's four of them. Take your socks and shoes off. There'd be four of us. But
my brother actually, he already texted me and my mom, and he told us that he's making pasta tonight for dinner.
There you go. But
he said we're going to eat enough. We're going to eat out enough this weekend for the party. How about if I make pasta tomorrow night? And he said, okay, go ahead.
All right. It's funny you say that because I went and visited a real close friend, and his mom has always been, my whole life, been making me, like, I get my cut of Sunday meal, right? So I went and saw him twice in the last, week, and both times, I made meatballs for you, and I love that. There's only two meatballs that I like, the one she makes and the one that gets made here at my house. And so last night I walk in the door and what are we having for dinner? You know what? I was in the mood for meatballs. I'm like, meatballs. I didn't want to give up that I've been eating meatballs for the last week, But anyway, enough about meatballs. Speaking of meatballs, Alex, what's your thoughts?
Speaking of meatballs,
I don't mean you. I meant, speaking of meatballs, the Deontay Wilder-Luis Ortiz fight is taking place on Saturday, and there's been a lot of talk, especially coming out of mine and Sal's mouth. But at the end of the day, it's a good fight. In my opinion, if Ortiz really does come to fight, it's going to be a big test for Deontay. It's something that I felt he should have done 10 fights ago. How do you see this fight going, and what's your prediction?
I think it is a good matchup. It's one of the better ones we could have in the heavyweight division, because one of the things that I think everybody wants is a unified heavyweight champion, and this would be along the way to consolidating all the championships. So for that alone, it's great. It's also, of the top guys at the unlimited class, this is one of the three names. And in terms of just plain pedigree and time in the ring, he by far has the most. Granted, most of it was from his amateur days. In 2015, Bill, I think we've talked about this before, when he beat Bryant Jennings, I thought, wow, this is going to be the champion. He's going to, if there's a tournament, he'll be the one to emerge. He has not turned out to be that same guy. I think maybe that was as good as it gets for him as a pro. He's certainly on the downslide. His reflexes seem blunted. All that said, Deontay Wilder is still green. If anything, he regressed since he won the first fight with Stavern. He's so sloppy. If Ali was alive today, he'd be calling him a washerwoman the way he fights. So Wilder is ripe to be beaten, I think. And I do think that as much fun as he is, a heavyweight who hits like him can't help but be fun. I favor Joshua pretty heavily to beat him when they do face each other. I don't think he's going to have much problem with Ortiz, because I think Wilder still has the quicker reflexes, being the younger man. This fight would have been better a few years ago. I look for Wilder to come in sharper because he knows he's got more in front of him than we've seen him in a while. Because remember, that happened. He's got a good trainer with Breland, and he really buckled down and looked great and fought a great game plan in the first Stavern fight. Since then, he's fighting sort of more naturalistic because the opposition hasn't been, the greatest. Fighters always do sort of train. They don't tell you that they will, but they do. They know who they're training for. And so that's why I do look for Ortiz to come in better than he's looked lately. But unfortunately, I think like Wilder said, bad things happen to King Kong when he comes to New York City.
Alex, I want to ask you a couple of questions, following up what you said. First of all, I agree with you 100% about the Bryant Jennings fight. I was ringside for that fight, and I thought
he looked so good.
Oh, it to me, I felt the same way. And by the way, so people know, I called 2 of Luis Ortiz's fights since he came to the States, and one of them was with you. You and I saw him fight in that
baseball field.
Yeah, in Florida.
Wow.
And we saw him, and he was clearly the A side. He came out. Remember, we were noticing. Well, he's got all the new equipment. He had the new shorts, the new shoes, and his opponent looked like he had to borrow him from the bus stop. But he seemed to fight to the level of competition then. And I think that when you look back and look at the resume and look at the names on the resume, and none really jump out at you except for Bryant Jennings. And what does he do? He fights Bryant Jennings the best that we've ever seen him. And like you said, never to fight at that level again. And granted, Bryant Jennings is half the size of Deontay Wilder. But with all that said, you have to admit that from a technically sound point, he possesses the technically sound boxing ability over Deontay. And watching a lot of Deontay's fights on tape recently, I see a lot of mistakes that this guy makes in his in his technique. I mean, his footwork is horrific. They're never in the same place. After he lunges and tries to blow out a fighter, because he does have a powerful punch, there's no question about it. But to me, that's it. And a lot of times you'll see him deliver that punch. It'll be off base a little bit, doesn't land flush or misses. And where he ends up landing, a good, talented boxer like Luis Ortiz is going to have the ability to counterpunch him and hurt him. The question is do you think that the age is going to be the main factor, or do you think that Ortiz will, fight at that Bryant Jennings level because he knows that he has to be at his best to overcome this punching power of Deontay Wilder?
Yeah, I think you are going to see him looking better than he's looked. And I think that hopefully he will have some rounds. But I do think that you're right. I think age is the thing that's probably going to be more of the factor. And I think the other thing too is when you're his age, he had to prepare for that first training camp. The fight gets canceled because of the urine test. I mean the PEDs, masking agents test. Then you have to start training again and prepare again. That's a lot of wear and tear on an older body. I don't know. I think, the youth and reflexes definitely is on Wilder's side. But Ortiz, he's forgotten probably more about the ring than Wilder has known because, he was the Cuban amateur. But I think that's just it, is that that's far in the distance, and especially heavyweights, they when they get old, they get old.
Sal, this is a great segue for old fighters because I want to ask you. You can make this opinion. Give me your opinion from your own self. experience. And obviously, you're older than I hope you're older than Ortiz, because if Ortiz is the same age as us, man, we're in trouble. But you know what it took, and you knew what the toll your body went through when you started training to come back for that comeback fight that was the Guinness Book of Return record, blah blah blah. And even you had setbacks with the body not responding to what you wanted. Does it come a time when you, as the fighter, in your mind, realizing that your body's not able to keep up with your mind, and you figure, listen, I'm just going to go with what I got now? Or do you have the ability to physically fine-tune the older body to a point where you're comfortable? I mean, is there a happy medium? I mean, if the age is the biggest enemy of Luis Ortiz, does he have any shot at overcoming that in terms of training or dedication or anything? I mean, what's he up against?
Well, he's up against, as we suggest, Father Time. And when I made that comeback and I trained, I looked at my old. I did things differently when I was training and fighting in my first time when I was in my prime. I wrote down in my journals the intervals I ran, the miles I ran, the recovery runs, the sprints, things like that. And I tried to adhere as closely as I could. And I was doing intervals. I was running. I was doing sprints. I was doing my miles. I was back under a 6-minute mile. It took a while, but I was able to get my body and my mindset. And don't forget, Billy, I wanted this more than anything at the time. And I knew. And to me, age was really just a number. I really fooled myself into believing that I was able to get myself back into peak condition better than ever. And, and I sparred every day. I did the bag. I was in as great of a condition as I felt that I can go 10 rounds again. And if you, Alex, I mentioned that fight earlier. Go look at that fight on YouTube or whatever. I'm punching bell to bell. Any 10-round fight I'm in, I'm punching bell to bell till it was over or the end of the fight. And my conditioning was never an issue. The reflexes, everything else, in the fighter's mind, you're still there. You still got it. You still this and that. I think what Ortiz has got to understand, though, is the fact that what I came up against when I injured my shoulder and I completely ripped my rotator cuff in half is that the connective tissues, the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, they don't keep up with the tensile strength of the muscle tissue. So now you have, as you get older, an imbalance. And I'm not a doctor, even though I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
That's my line that he keeps stealing.
I know
he's the Milton Berle of the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Nobody knows who Milton Berle is except for us anyway, Sal. But
hey, you want to break out my bell thing?
No.
All right, listen. So what I noticed when I was coming back, that there was a direct imbalance between my muscle tissue still remaining strong, and I was using a Bowflex every other day and everything else.
Another plug for nothing, Alex. You noticed that?
Sorry, I could plug.
I don't know. He must have side advertising deals or something.
Robot, it says Mickey's Meat Market. Paulie. So anyway, but I noticed the connective tissue. If I was doing sprints, I had to be careful of a hamstring. Or if I did this, the connective tissue, like my shoulder tore, is not as strong as the muscle tissue, or it lessens its flexibility as you age. So, but the bottom line is, what I think the older fighters have to do is just turn the clock back, believe they can do it, and be the best they can for there, and know there's going to be trade-offs. And that's where it comes into fact, using your experience. What your learned behavior in the ring. Can you punch bell to bell? Can you move as agile? Are you going to be defensive a little more? Are you going to get that jab? You're going to be sneaky. You're going to be countering. You got to assess where you are in your comeback or at your age and accentuates what you could do positively and negate what you're not doing as well. and just make the counters, make the changes, make the adaptations, and you could do that successfully. So if Ortiz is smart enough to figure all that out, why not? He could do this, and he could fight. And like I said, and if it wasn't for my torn shoulder, Billy, like you said and John said, I would have had a 5-contract fight deal. I would have kept fighting. And, I believe the man upstairs has a funny way of doing things. And when I won that fight, and I saw my 2 kids and my father ringside with their smiles, maybe that's a memory I never wanted to erase from their mind. But the bottom line is, what happens is when I had a torn rotator cuff, I said, well, I get surgery, and it's going to take about a year to rehab and get back in the ring. And then I'm not guaranteed if my other shoulder is going to blow or going to go or something else. I've got to train and get my body back. And that's another thing. When I was first fighting, your body becomes hardened like a shell, like a rock, and nothing could penetrate. And, it took a while to get that back again, to get that invincibility, that shell hardened again. So those are the things that you got to trade off and you got to look at. And the bottom line is why I didn't get that. To this day, I still didn't get the shoulder fixed because Dr. Morales, who's my doctor, who was in my corner at night, he said, Sal, when are you going to let me operate? When are you going to let me operate? I said, Doc, do you know why I didn't let you operate? I haven't let you operate in 4 years? Because I know me. I'm a gabarosto. I'm a hard-headed Italian. If you fix my shoulder, I'm gonna make a comeback. I'm going back in the ring.
No, you're not. No, you're not. We're not letting you.
I know maybe at 58 years old, did I just say that? That maybe.
Soon to be 59.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, Paulie, that maybe it's not the best thing for a 58-year-old to really aspire to do.
Soon to be
is
59.
Get back in a young man's game.
58.
Well, I think that's one of the things I think that Sal brings up a really good point is that even though age is not on his side and youth and reflexes and all those things, wisdom and just ring savvy and knowing the ins and outs of the game and be able to watch an opponent, and I think sort of what Coach is saying in the chat room too, Ortiz can turn this into a fight. If he boxes him, he can't because he doesn't have the athleticism and the youth to do that, to box at a distance, try to outbox a guy like Wilder, who's got that long jab, quick jab that we saw in the farce against, in the rematch with Stavern. But I do think that, like Sal said, an old crafty guy can maybe lure Wilder into a brawl and make it into a fight and make it slug with him and catch Wilder. Wilder has not been really in a fight. So I do think that there is a chance, but I think, like Sal is saying, also the big difference that seemed, at least from the outside looking at Ortiz does not have that motivation that Sal has to have gone on. Sal, when he got back in the ring, wanted to keep doing it, loved it. Ortiz, you don't see that anymore. You don't really. You saw the Malik Scott fight? Dear God, that was dreadful.
Yeah.
This is a job to him. It could be that, when you look at on paper of the two big pay channel cards this weekend, they're both from New York. I think the Showtime one is more of, like Coach has said, again, I'm quoting Coach a lot today, it's more of a wrestling show because the Ortiz fight, it looks good on paper, but Ortiz might not be too motivated either, so he might get whacked out early.
Well,
I hope he doesn't.
I don't.
And then the other fight is that rematch that nobody really wants to see. Meanwhile, HBO across town has a more interesting match, even though at least the undercard is. The main event, Sergey Kovalev, is probably going to just, notch another victory.
The thing is, though, and I do think that Ortiz is motivated. There's too much on the line for him. I mean, yeah, he could ride off into the sunset and get his $1 million payday, whatever. He's going to walk away with some side money, whatever. But like we've talked about all week, if he wins this fight it's actually better for the sport because, number one, he's going to get a huge payday against the winner of AJ and Parker. And by the way, Deontay's career is not going to go down the toilet. It's not like we're never going to see Deontay again. He gets to fight the loser of the Parker AJ fight. So and then he'll get another shot. So I mean, realistically, the best thing for the sport and financially for both fighters, I think, would be for Ortiz to win. If Deontay wins this fight, we're never going to see or hear from Ortiz again, ever. And
you don't know that. He could be fighting the winner of the Joshua
there'll be no demand
fight.
Because everyone's going to say
good. Yeah, but if he gets blown out, it's over.
Listen, make no mistake. Mark my words. If he looks good, he's going to win the fight. He's going to win the fight. If Ortiz is anything like Brian Jennings' fight, if he's anything like that, and oh, by the way, I've seen some photos of him. He looks like he's in fantastic shape. And it also looks like he's been working out for a while. You know, and don't think that he's got to try to, I say the way he needs to win is to get inside and test the body of Deontay. Nobody's done that. Deontay Wilder doesn't have the technical skill to keep him at bay. Yeah, he keeps guys at bay that he's got that height and reach advantage over. He does happen to have a height advantage over Deontay, but guess what? The reach is in Ortiz's favor. Ortiz has a 1-inch reach advantage. And because of his counterpunching ability that Deontay does not have, and that's a big if Ortiz is in shape and here to fight, Deontay's in trouble. That's what I think. If he's here for a payday and he's here to find a soft spot to lay down on, this fight's going to be over, like you suggest, Alex, quickly. And, everybody's going to say, they're not going to. And in a way, Deontay Wilder doesn't get the recognition he's looking for. I mean, it's kind of like a win-win situation for Ortiz. If he wins the fight, he's going to have more money than he ever knew what to do with. If he loses the fight, he's still going to have more money than he ever knew what to do with, and he gets to walk away. So I don't know. It's tough. But what's your official prediction, Alex, before we let you go?
Well, I certainly hope for the sake of the sport that you're absolutely right, that Ortiz comes in great shape and is very highly motivated, because that would be awesome, even if it just ends up in a distance fight that's close and competitive. That's great for the heavyweight division. But I have a feeling that it's going to be Wilder by KO, maybe 6 or 7 rounds. And I do think that Ortiz might have his. I don't know. I just don't see him. I'm rooting for him, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be a lot like going up the Empire State Building, and Wilder's got these 2 great big airplanes.
Alex,
Wilder's going to be coming like an airplane at him with those right hands and left hooks. I'm telling you. I like what you're saying there, Alex, and I concur with you. I think Wilder's going to stop him by the 6th round.
Well, my official prediction will come tomorrow. Alex, give my best to the fam out in Chicago. And don't let him. Don't ever come back here and tell me that he likes the big. What do they call it? The thick pizza. What do they call it?
It will never happen.
Yeah. Don't. If he ever says that, he's dead to me. That's it.
It'll never happen. I promise. It's it's a whole different animal. I don't know why they call it pizza.
I make some deep dishes when we have a request, but it gets a lot of good feedback, Bill and Alex. When I introduce a Sicilian pie.
Well, Sicilian's got to be done right. Too thick.
When we proof that the crust, the shell, and it's at least 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, and I mean it's a process. I love making a good Sicilian pie, and I tell you what, we do the best. It's great. People love it.
I haven't had a good Sicilian slice of pizza in a really long time.
Next time you come up,
I'll have that right after the breakfast pizza. Yeah.
And I'm gonna get my Sicilian pizza.
Broken promises. That's all I get from Sal. Broken promises. Alex, have a safe trip. We'll look forward to you next week, my man.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
That's my man Alex Papali, and broken promises from you, Senecola. That's all I know. I was expecting to get breakfast pizza. I was expecting What about the hotel room full of women? I didn't get none of that. I was lucky to get a hotel. Actually,
you had Field, didn't you?
I was lucky to get a hotel room, but anyway. Hey, listen, for all the affiliates, we're not going to take a break again. I apologize. We just have to get through these emails, and I'm going to start right now. This one's from my man Morgan. He says, hey, Billy C., I'm excited about seeing the Crusher back in action this weekend. It bugs me how you, meaning me, refer to Kovalev as a quitter. Kovalev was hit low several times, and he was looking for the referee to at least warn Ward. Instead, the ref prematurely called an end to a competitive fight. I'm not saying Kovalev wasn't hurt, because he clearly was. He is still the best light heavyweight in the world. His only loss to Ward, and he only lost to Ward in the rematch, and most felt he won the first fight. He didn't go back to the corner and quit. Duran is a quitter, not Kovalev. Before I go on, I believe he did quit. Kovalev did quit in that fight. Was looking for help from the referee, and he quit. And Morgan, don't get me wrong. I was a huge Kovalev fan. Nobody wanted to see him beat Andre Ward more than me. As a matter of fact, I agree with you that he won the first fight. And he talked a lot of smack for the second fight and didn't back any of it up. Don't you boys and girls see the pattern here? If a fighter talks smack, I have no problem with it, as long as he backs it up, or at least tries to back it up. If you're going to go in the ring and say, I'm going to knock this guy's head off, and you try and fail, at least you tried. If you say, I'm going to knock this guy's head off, and you run from him all round for 12 rounds, I don't like it. As far as Duran, you want to call the No Mas fight quitting. He did. He turned his back, and he quit. And in my opinion, there's no excuse for that. Even though in MMA and UFC, they're allowed to quit anytime they want. Nobody will ever say crap about that because they are allowed to tap out. But the only defense I've ever said about Roberto Duran in the No Mas fight is that he was frustrated because he wanted to fight in what he thought at that time was, let's be men, let's fight, let's go toe-to-toe, and the best man will win. He didn't want to accept the boxing ability, the punch, stick, and move some more, a game plan that Sugar Ray employed for him. But you're right, there's no excuse for that. But now it goes on to Mr. Morgan berating my man Duran. He says, Duran is overrated. He lost to De Jesus. All Duran fans say he was unbeatable at his natural weight, but he lost to De Jesus at lightweight. He got outboxed by Benitez. Duran fans say when Duran was motivated, he could have beat anybody. He had to be motivated for Benitez. If Benitez can outbox him, your favorite fighter, Mayweather, would have made him quit. Robbie Sims beat him. Sims was far from a great fighter. A relatively young Duran was upset by an unknown in Kirkland Lang. Someone explained how a great fighter loses to an unknown. Then he loses to another unknown in Pat Lawler. This loss was only 2 years after one of his best wins against the tough but limited Iran Barkley. I give Duran credit for getting under Sugar Ray's skin enough to beat that Ray tried to kill him. Ray proved in a rematch that when he fights smartly, he's the much better fighter by making Duran quit. Can you do a blast from the past on my favorite fighter and someone who beat Duran twice, Vinny Paz? There was no quit and Paz. I agree with you, no quit and Paz. And yes, I will add Vinny Pazienza to the list. But let me just straighten you out here. Roberto Duran's fame at lightweight was 10 years prior to the Sugar Ray Leonard fights. I mean, he was that old by the time he fought Sugar Ray Leonard. In 1972, he lost that 10-round decision to De Jesus. They fought 3 times. This was the first fight. He lost a 10-round decision. He was the lightweight champion of the world at that time, but this was not a title fight. This was his first loss, by the way. He was 31-0 when he stepped into the ring against De Jesus. And by the way, De Jesus is a Hall of Famer. This wasn't some slug that they found selling shoes on the corner. I mean, De Jesus was a quality fighter. It was the first loss of his career. He fought him 2 more times. both in 1974 and in 1978. Both had the world title on the line, and both times he knocked out De Jesus. So to use De Jesus as an excuse is really not that substantial. And as far as the Barkley fight, you're talking about, oh, you're still a young guy when he fought. When he fought Barkley, he was 40 years old. When he fought Vinny Pazienza, he was 43 years old. And he continued fighting for several years after that. Nah, I can't discredit Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran, and I was never a huge fan of Roberto Duran. I liked Sugar Ray Leonard at the time. But I've learned to really appreciate Duran, especially when I went back and watched his early fights at lightweight. You can't compare Kovalev and Duran, but thanks for the email. And by the way, Mayweather would have never even had the balls to step in the ring with Duran. That's the difference between Floyd Mayweather and fighters of yesteryear. Floyd Mayweather doesn't have the balls. He's a punk. That's why he beats up women and pimply-faced security guards. What's your thoughts, Sal?
Well, if you're talking about what I would have thought about
Duran,
Roberto Duran, and Floyd, I love Duran. I think Duran as a lightweight, not the second coming of his career as a welterweight, but like I said, and he skipped. I always thought he could have stopped off and picked up a junior welterweight title too. I think who was the champion at the time was maybe Antonio Cervantes. That's an old name, but Duran went from lightweight to welterweight, and but as a lightweight, I could debate and go with anybody that Roberto Duran may have been one of the greatest 135-pound lightweight champions ever to go into the ring.
I agree.
I mean, you're looking at a fighter in his prime, in his peak as a lightweight. The guy could box, he could move, he can counter. He you know what? He had what good champions. He had that nastiness. He had that streak. He wanted to kill you in a ring, and it was that fire, that fervor, those angry eyes. He had it all. And Duran was relentless. He was relentless, and he wasn't happy until he was winning that fight or won by a knockout. I think as a lightweight, one of the greatest lightweights ever to step in a ring was Roberto Duran. Now, there's been a lot of great lightweights. I'd love to do the little magic boxing machine and see how he would do against Henry Armstrong in that era. But, as a lightweight, I'll always say Roberto Duran was one of the greatest. And guess what? When he was a welterweight, he still had the ability and skill in his later years to sustain and do a level of victories that made him a legend. He was good. He was that good. And when Sugar Ray Leonard proved Duran wrong in his second fight, hey, hats off. Look who Sugar Ray Leonard is. He's a Hall of Famer. Sugar Ray Leonard is one of the greatest welterweights that ever stepped in the ring as well. And when I say greatest, I definitely put him in the top 5 before I ever will against Floyd Mayweather.
No doubt. No doubt. Got another email. I'm trying to get all these emails done here in a couple minutes. Luke, Thunder Luke Breslin. He says, hey guys, hope you're doing well. And not to be a suck-up, but it's great to have you back. He says, now I have to apologize, but I really need to get this off of my chest. A part of me really thinks Deontay Wilder doesn't deserve a big money fight with AJ. I'm absolutely sick to death of this garbage spouting out of his mouth, his trash-talking style that a lot of fighters feel they need to do now just to get their fights sold. Regardless of what would happen in a fight with AJ, Deontay would become a multimillionaire overnight. My concern is, Bill, you said the other day, who's listening to him? Well, worryingly, it seems to be a large number of people seem to listen to Deontay Wilder, and I'm worried that the next generation of up-and-coming fighters and fans think this is the norm on how to get the rewards they desire. Let me just comment right here. This wasn't Deontay that came up with this. I mean, fighters have been trying to emulate what Muhammad Ali did successfully back in the 60s and 70s. The difference is that they just spew, and I've said this many times on the show, you hear this trash talk, is it really going to make you go buy a ticket when these fighters don't back it up? Deontay, the difference with Deontay's trash talk is that he honestly believes it, and he does try to take his opponent's head off. You know, where he crosses the line, in my opinion, is when he starts saying how great he is. All you got to do is look at what I've accomplished, blah, blah, blah. And that's when the reality kind of slips away, in my opinion, because truthfully, he hasn't done much, as proven by his resume. But anyway, he says, regardless, he says his fight is being shown over here in the UK on Sky, and they've been airing interviews with him, and it's absolutely disgraceful, the stuff that he comes out with. I would even say it's bordering on liberal and slander, the garbage he spouts. We all know he's been offered several fights in the past that he's ducked, and a big money fight with AJ, and yet in all of his interviews he keeps saying people are ducking me. Anthony's ducking me. I don't want to hear nothing about mandatories. I'm the man that you should be facing, blah, blah, blah. So he's just talking, lying. Isn't that what it is? Listen, I've said this many, many times. You know, a fighter says, I want to fight Sal, and Sal wants to fight me. So I say, I want to fight Sal. And my people call Sal, and they go, hey, Billy C wants to fight you. We'll give you $100 to fight him. And Sal says, $100? I want 100,000. And they don't make the fight. So you know what I say? Sal's ducking me. That's not the truth. Sal wants to fight. He just didn't want to get lowballed. You know, if it's about the money, say it's about the money. Deontay did say it was about the money, but he came back with an unrealistic demand for a split, which is there. He says, but what really gets me is the way that he talks about the history of boxing and as he sees it. I've said before that I'm only 31, but I'm a massive fan of the history of the sport. I would like to remind everyone when Larry Holmes famously, before his fight with Michael Spinks, when he was about to tie Marciano's record, he said Rocky Marciano couldn't carry my jockstrap, and he was ripped to pieces by the press and the fans. However, this idiot says that no one has achieved what he's achieved in the ring. He proceeds to say he would have knocked Tyson out. And then he even started to target Lennox Lewis. I mean, who the hell is advising this guy? Who's watching out for his career? But the same can be said for Tyson Fury. This is a man who hasn't boxed over 2 years, and yet people keep discussing him in the same conversation of Anthony Joshua and other high-profile fighters. I want to remind people that he's an inactive fighter who's repeatedly keeps saying that he's been ducked and yet nowhere close to being ready to get in the ring. We as fans need to stamp this out. We need to turn our back on these idiot fighters and show them that this kind of crap talk has no place in the sport. In a week where we've had high-profile, sad passing of a warrior in the ring here in the UK, boxing is yet again under the scrutiny and the microscope of the public, and I am yet again being told that it's a thug's game. We need gentlemen in this sport. We need real men who do the talking in the ring with their fists, not outside chatting foolishness. I would also like to point out, much to your annoyance, I'm sure, Bill, that I'm also a pro wrestling fan, but I wouldn't even belittle the art of professional wrestling by comparing that to what Deontay's doing. I apologize if this has been a heavy letter, but I freely admit it's not just Deontay that does it, but needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. Hey, I got nothing against WWE. But I just don't think boxing should be it. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with this email at all, Sal. I mean, I agree. No. I think fighters need to let their fists do the talking, and that's the end of that. What do you think?
That's exactly what you and I say, you know. I don't mind them talking at all when they let their fists back it up, and that's what they should show. Even if they have their character or their emotions or this and that in the fight, the way they are professing that their heart and soul is going to be winning or doing this, doing that. I want to see it from them. And when they go in and they want to run or they want to slip or they want to move and then not face the fire, then you got to look at exactly those empty words.
Exactly.
But no, I agree.
We got a couple of more here I want to try and get. So let's see. This next one here is from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy, what's your thoughts on some of the quotes made by Triple G and Canelo? I heard that Canelo's trainer said boxing is hit and not get hit. I understand that, but it doesn't mean move away from the fight at a consistent time. Like you say, hit, but stay in position not to get hit. I just feel his team is not training him correctly. He should be a lot better than this. Listen, Team Canelo is blatantly trying to copy Floyd Mayweather in every stretch of the imagination. business sense, and fighting ability. The difference between Floyd Mayweather and Canelo is Floyd Mayweather could effectively hit you while he's running. Canelo cannot, so he'll never be effective at that game. He will be a pure runner. The definition of the sweet science is hit and not get hit. But the rest of that statement is but be in position to inflict damage on your opponent. That's the sweet science. You want to hit your opponent, not get hit by your opponent, but hit your opponent again. Landing a punch and dancing off to the other side of the ring is not the sweet science. I'm sorry. It's not. And anybody that believed Floyd Mayweather when he told everybody that it is an idiot. He says, what's your thoughts on Brock Jarvis? Is he too young to have a read on him? Absolutely not. This is a 5'7", 20-year-old super flyweight. He's already ranked in the top 100 at number 85 in the super flyweight division. He's from Australia. He's 12-0 with 11 knockouts. His only non-knockout victory was his pro debut, in which it was a 6-round fight. This guy has fought good opposition, and he's definitely good opposition since he turned pro. He's definitely a guy to keep an eye on, for sure. Jesse says, I agree, heavyweight division is too depleted, not enough talent. I mean, they are big, but horrible habits and skills. We have a lot of young, quality heavyweights that are not getting the opportunity to get better because of the business side. We can't blame the athletes. Sal, we've said this a million times. The athletes of today are better. Listen, it doesn't. We said this. I think you and I were talking about this yesterday after the show. Listen, nobody loves the history of the sport more than me. I love the fighters from yesteryear, Jack Dempsey's, the Rocky Marcianos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Jack Johnson, one of my favorites. On and on. But let's be real. You put Rocky Marciano in the ring with an Anthony Joshua or a Lennox Lewis, he's just physically not big enough. Yeah, he could power him and knock him out, but what's the odds? We're just bigger, faster, stronger. It's hard to really believe anything else. Anyway, he says, and my point here is that the division does have talent, Sal. We have some young fighters that should be given a chance.
Sure.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think so across the board. Unfortunately, if they're not promoted correctly or don't have the right opportunities, we'll never hear from many of these guys. They'll only be a speck on the radar.
The last part of the email from Jesse says, Spence versus Ocampo is a joke. I can't believe they can't find someone better than him, but I guess he has to take his mandatories. And that's what we were talking about yesterday. The mandatories, the sanctioning bodies, they're the ones that really ruin this sport by taking up and preventing the fights that we all want to see by these stupid mandatories. And finally, the last email is from my man Mitch. He says, Billy C., can you finally accept we were goofing about this yesterday, Sal. He says, can you finally accept on air that I'm right? And he says, Canelo, Triple G, Heyman, De La Hoya, Sal's boy Wilder, the WBC, Sal's boy Thurman, Kovalev, Broner, etc., etc., etc. They all listen to your show. Once again, what are the odds of you saying one thing on your show and less than 48 hours later they address it? It's happening too often. Canelo proved it yesterday with his 13th round statement comment less than 12 hours after you said it. The show may not be no, he says the show isn't the best because it has the most listeners or comes on at the best time of day. Your show is the best because it fuels boxing talk. These promoters and boxers play off of what you say, what Dax says, what Sal says, what Larry and Alex, what you all say on the show.
I'm sold. I'm sold.
I love that my man Mitch gives us the accolades like this. I do believe it's coincidental, but it does happen an awful lot, doesn't it, Sal?
It certainly does. I mean, I love taking stock and taking notes. So, Mitch, thank you so much for paying attention because there may be some reality in what you're saying, and keep us abreast of what we say and what you see the next day. But I'll tell you, and We talk about the round robin effect in boxing. We talk about all the other innuendos and what we want to say, and it does come out, and it's interesting.
Finally, tomorrow, Sal and I will be breaking down and giving you our official predictions on all the big fights for the weekend. I also have an update on Kell Brook, who's returning to the ring this weekend, and the possibility of Vasily Lomachenko fighting Jorge Linares. We all thought that fight was dead because of various reasons, but it was announced late yesterday that there's not only a strong possibility, but it's very close to being signed. I'll explain all of that on tomorrow's show, and that's a big fight for the sport.
Oh, yeah.
But on this day, as we start a new month, March 1st in 2003, Roy Jones Jr. wins a 12-round decision over John Ruiz to win the WBA World Light Heavyweight title. To win the WBA World Heavyweight title in Las Vegas on this day in 2003. On this day in 1933, Bob Goodwin wins a 10-round decision over Joe Knight to win the vacant World Light Heavyweight title. That took place in West Palm Beach, Florida. On this day in 1997, Steve Johnston wins a 12-round decision over Jean-Baptiste Mendy to win the WBC World Lightweight title. It took place in Paris. On this day in 1966, Horatio Akavallo wins a 15-round decision over Katsuyoshi Takayama to win the vacant WBA World Flyweight title. It took place in Japan. On this day in 1934, Primo Carnera wins a 15-round decision over Tommy Loughran to retain the World Heavyweight title at the Madison Square Garden in Miami, Florida. There was a Madison Square Garden in Miami, by the way. Primo weighed 270 pounds. You know what Tommy Loughran weighed? 186.
I just guessed that.
Did you really?
Now why can't I get? I just guessed 186. I just pulled that out of the air.
No, well,
I try lottery numbers every night. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. But I swear, I just pulled 186 out. Where else am I going to get it from? I'm not that fast on a keyboard, pal.
This fight at the Madison Square Garden in Miami, Florida, had almost 13,000 people in attendance for this fight. So,
wow.
And finally, on this day, March 1st in 1997, in really, this guy needs to get the credit. Maybe not so much this time when he fought, but Hector Macho Camacho, when he first hit the scene in the 80s and prior to the Edwin Rosario fight when he actually changed his style, was one of the greatest fighters of all time. And, at those lighter divisions, lightweight, we're talking about lightweights and stuff, this guy had it all. He had hand speed, he had defense, he had charisma, he had punching power, he went in for the kill. I mean, this was an exciting fighter. Unfortunately, for a lot of you that watch or listen to this show, you remember the Camacho that came years later, like the fight on this day in 1997 when Hector Macho Camacho stops via TKO Sugar Ray Leonard in the 5th round in their middleweight fight that took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. This would be Sugar Ray Leonard's last professional fight. 36 wins, 25 by knockout, 3 losses, 1 stoppage, which was this one, and 1 draw. He was inducted into the International Hall of Fame in 1997, which was he had been inducted in the Hall of Fame when the votes came out, and then fought this fight, which was also an issue because you had to be out of boxing for 5 years, but he never would fight again. But anyway, that's what happened on this day in boxing history, Sal. A lot of good stuff. Roy Jones Jr. Winning the world heavyweight title was also a big thing. But
absolutely,
in any event. Hey, listen, boys and girls, tomorrow, big show, all of our predictions, and we want you to join us. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.